Hello everybody. In our previous videos, we have talked about the layering concepts, and we have also discussed about the OSI models, the different layers of the OSI model. And we have seen that in any layered architecture, a lower layer provides some service to the higher layer, to the next higher layer. So the application layer uses the services which are provided by the presentation layer, which in turn uses the services provided by the session layer, which uses the services of the transport layer, then the network layer, the data link, and finally we have the physical layer. So every lower layer provides some service to the immediate higher layer. So our discussion is going to be on the transport layer. We are going to focus on the transport layer. So let us see what are the services which are provided by the transport layer to the higher layers. So we can, in fact, we can call this tree together. We can call it the application layer. We can assume that these three, the presentation and the session layer, are combined together. So we can, the transport layer will provide services to the applications, to the various networking applications. And what are these applications? These applications can be email applications, a file transfer. You want to transfer a file, you want to browse the internet. Okay, so those are different applications. Now, how does, when you send the email, how is that email sent via the network? Okay, so we will see that what services are provided by the transport layer to assist the applications in the application layer. So, first, services provided. So the first we have already seen, we have already talked about it several times, that is process to process delivery. So the transport layer enables process to process delivery. So the network layer, which is just below the transport layer, provides your source to destination delivery. Okay. However, this network layer is not very reliable. It is not reliable. It does not provide any guarantee that the data that you have sent will reach from the source to the destination. Now, why is that? Let's say this is our source A, this is our destination B, and in between you have the network. Okay, so there may be multiple intermediate hops. So maybe here you have a switch, here also let's say you have a switch, then from here you have a router. Again, this is connected to another router like this. So these are your intermediate. In between A and B you have multiple number of intermediate hops through which it has to transfer. Now these devices that you see intermediate in between, A and B are not the only devices who are sending data through them. So this may be connected to another node here, which may be connected to several other devices. Similarly, this may be connected to something else, which again may be connected to something else, and so on. So these devices, intermediate devices, they receive packets or data from various sources, from multiple directions. So usually what they do, they follow a store and forward method. That means they have some location, some memory, which, let me use a different color. So they have certain memory here, okay, where when the new data comes in, they just put it inside this memory. They put it inside the memory. Okay, and then one by one they forward it to the next, okay, in the correct direction. Now these buffers are not, these are called buffers. Now these buffers are not unlimited. They are of a particular size. So they cannot store unlimited data. So what will happen? Some of these packets, when it cannot be, there's no space to store these packets in the buffers of the routers, then they will be dropped. So the packets which is sent by A to B, some of these may get lost, but may be dropped. Packet may be dropped. There can be other things like the packet may get corrupted, or the packet may get delayed because of a lot of congestion. Okay, so for various reasons the network layer cannot provide reliable service. So the next service which is provided by the transport layer is reliable process-to-process delivery. Reliable process-to-process delivery. So because the network layer is not reliable, it is the responsibility of the transport layer to ensure reliable communication. So it has to take care, it has to see that the packets which it has sent, which it had given to the network layer, whether it has been received or not. If it has not been received by the destination, then it must take necessary actions in order to maybe send the packet again or perform some task so that these lost packets are retransmitted. So reliable communication, this is the second service which is provided by the transport layer. The third service which is provided is flow control and congestion control. Flow control and congestion control. So let's say here again, A is sending to something to B. Okay, some process of A is sending to some process of B. Now in say A can send very fast, say can send at 20 Mbps, and B can receive at say 10 Mbps. So A is sending very fast, B cannot process those data, B is overwhelmed with the data. So what happens? Packets will be dropped because B cannot handle it. So there has to be some kind of a mechanism by which A and B will negotiate earlier before the communication starts as to how fast or how slow the transmission will take place. So the controlling of the rate of transmission in the transport layer is a responsibility of the transport layer, and this is known as your flow control. So that is control the transmission rate so that a fast sender does not overwhelm a slow receiver. And related to it is also the concept of congestion. Okay, too much of data in the network can lead to congestion. So there has to be mechanisms to handle this congestion also. The fourth work that is done by the transport layer is segmentation and reassembly. Segmentation and reassembly. So segmentation and reassembly, what this means is that the message which comes to the transport layer from the application layer, the transport layer is here, the message may be very long. Okay, so the transport layer, what it does, it breaks down these messages into smaller components. okay, and then passes these smaller components to the network layer. This is known as segmentation. And now at the receiver end, okay, the receiver at the this is at the sender level. Now at the receiver level, say at the receiver, there is the transport layer of the receiver, then there is the transport layer of the receiver, this is the application layer. So the transport layer will again receive these packets or these small units, okay, and then what it has to give to the application layer is not the small pieces but the entire message. And what happens in between the transport layer and the at the sender and at the receiver, you have the network. So the network is unreliable, as I said. So there is the network here. So and network is unreliable. So for one particular message which was divided into small pieces at the sender, what is received here is again small pieces which has to be reconstructed, that is reassembled. Now what about the order? So this is packet number 1, this is packet number 2, this is packet number 3. So the transport layer gives to the network layer these packets. Now the network layer is not responsible for sending them in sequence. So packet 2 may go through one path, packet 3 may go through another path, packet 1 may go through the shortest path. So they will arrive at the destination at different times. They may not arrive in the sequence 1 to 3. So let's say 3 arrives first, then 1 comes, then 2 comes. So it is the responsibility of the transport layer at the receiver side to arrange them in the proper order is 1, 2 and 3. So they need some kind of numbering of these segments so that at the receiver end it can be reassembled. So this is another responsibility of the transport layer, that is segmentation and reassembly. And the last, that is number 5, which I should have mentioned actually earlier, that is connection management. So establishing connection and releasing connection. Okay, so when the source and the destination, between the source and the destination, a connection the transport layer must ensure that the sender is ready to send and the receiver is ready to receive. So both the parties must agree to the communication. So that is communication establishment or connection establishment. So, and at the time of connection establishment, a lot of the negotiations that take place, like how should we number the segments, what should be the transmission rate, all these flow control and all these informations are discussed at the beginning when the connection is established. And finally, when the connection is over, the both parties must agree to release the connection. Okay, so one party disconnects and the other party is still sending data. So that will lead to different problems. So connection management can be divided into connection establishment, and connection release. So connection establishment and connection release, this is also the responsibility of the transport layer. So we have seen these are the different services which are provided by the transport layer: connection management, segmentation and reassembly, flow control, congestion control, reliable process-to-process delivery, and it provides process-to-process delivery from one process in the source to another process in the destination. So that's all in this particular lecture on services provided. We are going to look into details about each and every service that is provided, and then we are going to look at some specific protocols of the transport layer and see how each of these services are provided in these protocols.